this is Lane. I feel like I need to get some stuff off my chest about the murder of George Floyd. As we know, and I'm sure everyone in the world has seen it, my friend Clement and Francis talked to me about it. This murder is a very, very terrible and tragic event that took place in Minnesota. And we all agreed that the cop was in the wrong. There's no one in the world saying the cop did the right thing. And if they did, they probably need to look at their morals and check and see what's wrong, because no person of any race, gender, doesn't matter, should be killed like that. I mean, there's so many people telling him the cop to stop, and that obviously he's a bad cop. There's no one saying he's not, so he's a bad cop. But the question of the cop's racism, I'm going to talk about that in another video, because just from one act, you can't call someone a racist. I know that's going to be a trigger for most of you or whatever, but there has to be some sort of history, some facts. I mean, there has to be some sort of statistic. But anyways, that's for another video. The reason that I'm here is to condemn these riots that have been going on. Because, yes, this is a tragic death, but these riots are not, they're not productive. They're not a protest. That people saying that it's a peaceful protest now, or that these protests is, yeah, this is a great protest because of the riots. Well, I'm going to start with, I've seen the meme going around. It's the one Office character. Sorry, I don't watch The Office. Terrible show in my opinion. But the top sign says, but there are protesters but these protesters were destroying property and such. And then at the bottom, there's a picture of the Boston Tea Party. Okay, that's my issue right there. There's a complete difference between what's going on in the Boston Tea Party. First, let me start with a little background of the Boston Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party took place on December 16th, 1773. This was a protest of taxes imposed by the British government on the American colonists on tea. Then the colonists were only allowed to buy this tea from the British-owned East Indian Company. Notice that the ships were owned by the British government. Specifically, direct line, British government, ships owned. Tea is also owned by the British government. Okay. And the colonists were only allowed to buy it from them. And this was a protest of taxation without representation. But the key point here is that the ships were owned by the British government. That's the main point. This is here. So most people are talking about the protest, and from what we have seen is the protest and rioting that's going on today. The First Amendment does guarantee the right to protest. However, the First Amendment does not guarantee the right to riot, steal, or burn down buildings or kill people. That is not a protest. That is a crime, and you can be charged for that, which I'm assuming there better be some people charged in Minneapolis. However, let's look at the two stores that were looted / burnt down last night. The first one being Target. I'm sure everyone's seen the videos of people in Target with hammers beating on cash registers, or walking out with TVs, or walking out with this, walking out with that. People beating people outside of Target. And it looks like a wasteland in this Target up in Minneapolis right now. So let's get into a little bit of facts about Target. It was created in 1902 in Minnesota and remains an American company that is traded on the New York Stock Exchange to this day. However, let's look at AutoZone now. AutoZone's the place that was burnt down, where a man or woman tragically died inside last night, but no one's talking about that as much because it burnt down. AutoZone is also an American company. It was founded in 1979 when there was a lawsuit that broke apart Auto Shack, making AutoZone and Radio Shack two separate companies, just so you all know that. But yet again, this is traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Neither of these are owned by the United States government, or the police department in Minnesota, or the cop that killed George Floyd. There's no direct link to anybody in the government or those people. So for you to say that the Boston Tea Party is like this is just absurd. If you're going to peacefully protest, how about we peacefully protest outside of the police thing? Oh, wait, they burn it down today. So this is supposed to be a protest of police brutality. Attacking these two buildings has no link to the police office, to the police officer who killed George Floyd. No link at all, but yet people are going to compare it to the Boston Tea Party. I've seen it all over the place, and I just think people don't understand what the Boston Tea Party was about. They were destroying property of the person that was harming them. No, well, not really harm, but oppressing them. The Target has nothing to do with George Floyd. Target's the 8th largest retailer in the United States. I don't understand why that store or any store in Minneapolis is being looted and pillaged. The only thing that this is doing right now is giving in to the stereotypes that people are already seeing for everyone in America, especially the people rioting, looting, and this, because this is inexcusable. There's no reason for this. And I really think that for all this to be fixed, the cop definitely needs to be sentenced to life in prison. I mean, or possibly, I don't know Minnesota's laws. If they have a death penalty, should probably get the death penalty. I know pretty much everyone will agree with me. But for the people that are protesting and everything, get a grip. You aren't doing anything. You're making it worse. Look at Ferguson. Same thing happened to Ferguson, and guess what? It's still in shambles. It's still recovering. It's still a very poor area. You aren't fixing anything by destroying the infrastructure in your area. And I hope that you guys realize this, because you look like a bunch of fools. Thank you for tuning in.